With Trunks meeting the Kais, now he might actually have a way to get back home, but it's not a sure thing. And it is going to take some time. What does Shin have in store for Trunks? We'll cover all that and more in this fourth part of What If Trunks is Trapped in the Past. Trunks begins his training under Shin and Kibito. To officially be able to use the time ring, he has to become a true apprentice Kai. He'll have to earn it, he'll have to do the ritual for it too. And given how volatile the time rings are, he can't just give it to Trunks right away. Trunks really will have to prove himself. He can't make it too easy now. Of course, he can use it by just having the earring on. But Shin isn't just going to gallivant through time with him. Trunks needs to earn the right to use it on his own, and prove that he can be trusted with something like that. Besides, Trunks did break galactic law by traveling in time in the first place. If he wants to correct it, he's going to have to do it on his own. And even with the time ring, it's not like he's going to fully correct it, it's just going to give him the opportunity to go back home for a bit. But he understands everything, and he stays here for as long as he needs. No one else goes to the Sacred World of Kais with him because he's just training essentially to get the time ring. Of course, he does grow stronger in this time and learns a bunch of things from the Kais too. But he always has the same goal in mind, getting access to the time ring. Even if just for a bit, even if it's only once, he wants to go back to his timeline just to make sure it's actually still there. He needs to see it to believe it. About 2 years pass. Let's go back to Earth for a bit. Vegeta's focused a lot on training Trunks, the present one that is. This Trunks aims to be as powerful as his future self. He has spent a lot of time around him and he's been growing a lot stronger. He's definitely way ahead of Goten, although this would probably rub off on Goten a bit too. And thankfully for Trunks, with Vegeta around, especially with the fact that Vegeta's kind of a deadbeat with no job. Sorry Vegeta, it's true. Vegeta's not only growing himself, but it's really beneficial to have him around with Trunks. Gohan's also with Videl by now and is busier too. Probably losing some focus on his training, especially without Trunks there because he was a big motivator. Of course Goku still will try to push him, but Gohan is getting that normal life that he wanted. As for Goku though, of course he's still training, growing further and further. His rivalry with Vegeta continues mostly through their kids, but obviously the two still have a rivalry. They're pretty much on equal footing right now too. They spar a lot and it's pretty 50-50. Half the time Vegeta wins, half the time Goku wins. They are pretty much dead even at this point. But all this time makes Vegeta wonder what Trunks is up to. He's not concerned at all, he's with the Kais. Him being with gods does sound terrifying on the surface, but Vegeta got to see what those gods are like. It's not like he's going to face Lord Beerus or anything. Beerus then wakes up years earlier than normal and immediately goes to find Trunks. The reason for this is the Oracle Fish specifically told him a Kai apprentice would appear that would be his rival, and that Kai apprentice is already here. He also had a dream about this rival and all he could really piece together is that it's a Saiyan, and somehow godly. But also with the knowledge that Shin would be the one to actually train his rival, he at least knows immediately where to go, with Whis taking him to the Sacred World of Kai. Shin and Kibito are terrified when he shows up. There's also no Elder Kai because Trunks was really careful with the Z-Sword. He barely even used it too. He did train with it for a bit, but at some point it had diminishing gains, so now he just uses it as a regular weapon. Beerus immediately recognizes that too, so he knows for sure that in this fight he's not going to have Trunks use the sword. But then when Trunks sees that the other two are terrified, he then bows down, realizing that this is Lord Beerus. He has heard about him by now. But he doesn't waste any time. He explains why he's here. Trunks is supposed to be his rival, at least according to the Oracle Fish and his dream. According to Whis, Trunks is part Saiyan, and he's also an apprentice here. So Beerus asks him to show his full power, wondering what he's capable of. He is pretty terrified right now, and anything he can do to impress Beerus, that's what he's going to do. Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 2 for that matter do nothing to Beerus. But Trunks isn't done yet. He powers up one more time. Beerus doesn't really expect much. He had Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, what's next? Super Saiyan 3? A marginal boost? He doesn't really care. But no, it's not this hypothetical Super Saiyan 3. Beerus' eyes widen because he senses godly ki flowing through Trunks, with a pinkish light filling the area. Trunks finishes powering up. He still isn't too sure on how he unlocked this form. It was way after he started training as a Kai. Inadvertently, by being a divine being, Trunks has unlocked Super Saiyan Rose for himself. Beerus kinda wishes he started with this off the bat. This is the godly Saiyan rival he was looking for, there's no doubt about it. So Trunks fights Beerus in Super Saiyan Rose. The fight goes way differently. Of course, Beerus is still going to win in the end, but the gap in power between this and his previous forms, it's pretty insane. So even though Beerus beats him, he really is impressed. This is exactly what he wanted. That settles it. Trunks is going to be his rival. But he also does know what Trunks did though. Whis was able to brief him on that. He doesn't really know what Trunks' plan next, but he could put the pieces together. Trunks traveled through time, then got stuck here, and is now training under the Supreme Kai who has the ability to travel through time. So he knows exactly what Trunks wants to do. He wants to time travel again and go back to his home timeline. And Trunks thinks it's better to be honest here, so he confirms that's exactly what he wants to do. But Beerus says he can't allow that. Even if he becomes an apprentice Kai, that doesn't mean he can just travel through time freely. Shin then butts in too. That's also how he was going about it with Trunks. Just because this will give him the ability to travel through time, doesn't mean that they're going to let him do it whenever he wants, however many times he wants. But Beerus says that's not the point. He doesn't want to allow this at all. Trunks already messed with time once, and really, he should just destroy Trunks on the spot. However, if Trunks does become his rival, he's willing to overlook this, and if he at least wants to travel through time once, after he's fully adjusted to this new position, then yeah, he'll allow that. But Beerus is still a little bit groggy, and he returns back to his home planet. Whis will contact him soon enough and bring him there eventually. Beerus claims he has other business to attend to, but really as he heads home, he's just leaving Trunks to his own devices, letting him decide what he wants to do, and seeing what he plans on doing with the time ring as well. A few more months pass, and Trunks eventually gets access to the time ring. And right when he does, Beerus comes to the planet again, reminding Trunks of what he said before, and Shin reminds him too. Trunks already knows everything, but Shin reiterates. When he traveled to this timeline, whatever technology Bulma used, it somehow made it so Trunks was stable here, and now he exists within this timeline. Essentially, his soul is intertwined with it. He's anchored here, and this is his home as far as Shin and Beerus are concerned. That's also why her time machine was so dangerous in Shin's eyes. At least in this scenario, the way it works is that it's assigning Trunks here. It's part of the reason he's stuck in the past. And now with this timeline, it'll stay his home. Shin and Beerus have no idea how to correct it, and frankly, they would consider it a crime to try and correct that. He already badly messed with time once, and he's not going to do it again. The point of Shin saying all this is, even though Trunks has the time ring and is able to travel to the future now, he has to come back here. This is his timeline now. In simple terms, Bulma's time machine changed Trunks' address. All he's doing right now is visiting his old home. But at the end of the day, Trunks doesn't live there anymore. This is his new address. And on top of that, he's a Kai in this timeline, not in the future. Future Shin and Beerus don't have knowledge of him going there either, as well as staying there in the first place. And with his duties as a Kai here, he does have to come back regardless. So for multiple reasons, Trunks has to come back here. And Trunks understands this. He knew this would only be temporary, but he at least wants the chance to visit his home. But he is loyal to Shin, and he will play by the rules here. He puts on the time ring, and finally, after all this time has passed, he gets to go back home for once. He arrives in the future timeline, on Earth. The planet seems completely barren almost. It's not really a good first impression for Trunks. Was everything destroyed, or is it just this one area? He starts to fly around, and this is the case for most places. There are some destroyed cities that look like they're partially intact at least, but he doesn't see people walking around. It's like there's no humans around. He doesn't want to believe it, but slowly he comes to the realization that everyone's dead. But he wants to confirm this is the case first. But as he's flying around, he then senses a power approaching. It has a somewhat familiar key. He feels like he's sensed it before, and then it hits him. It's a mix of ki. His stomach drops. He knows exactly who this is. It's that same mix of ki he felt when he fought Cell before. He lands nearby, and that power approaches him, also landing nearby. He doesn't immediately recognize who it is, but he remembers what Cell's purpose was. He wanted to become perfect, so this must be Cell in a different form. He achieved perfection. Cell says he's surprised to see Trunks. He only knew of him from the computer, and this is the first time he sees him face to face. Cell does wonder where he's been all this time. He would have been a great opponent, but Trunks completely ignores what Cell says. He asks if he's responsible for all this. All the destruction he's seeing. Oh yeah, about that. Well, the androids did most of that. After Trunks disappeared, the androids were left completely unchecked. Of course, Cell did help a little bit with it, especially when he fought the androids. Cell won. He likes to think he didn't cause as much destruction as the androids because he got bored of this planet pretty quickly. He's been flying around space aimlessly trying to find other opponents, because here, he didn't really find many people. But to answer Trunks, yeah, part of this was due to him. Not like he could do anything about it now anyways. Cell is perfect, and he doesn't know how powerful Trunks is, but it probably won't be enough to contend with him. Still, he assumes a battle stance and gets ready for a good battle. Trunks feels an intense rage that he hasn't felt in a while. It's almost deafening. He completely tunes Cell out. Cell was the reason he got trapped in the past in the first place. Cell threatened everyone there, and now Cell threatened everyone here, destroying his home. He's directly allied with the androids too, regardless of if he fought them. He's still one of Dro's creations meant to destroy everything. And basically out of instinct, Trunks transformed into Rose because of his rage. Rose is boosted by this rage too. Cell's a bit taken aback because he can't sense the power of this form, but Trunks' aura is massive and the pressure from it alone can be felt. It feels like the entire planet's shaking. Cell's smug look turns into a look of nervousness. He slightly backs up, but the second he makes a movement, Trunks launches a single attack, completely eviscerating Cell, destroying every bit of him too. Trunks then closes his eyes, trying to calm down a bit, and he remembers one other thing he should do here. He tries to focus, and eventually locks in on something, teleporting to another side of the planet, finding Bobity's spaceship. Just like he guessed, Bobity's here too. He was probably going to use Cell for power. So, without a second thought, and without Bobity and Dabor even realizing what's happening, Trunks gets rid of them as well, then using his own powers to seal Boo's egg up. Even if everyone here is gone, he could at least save the planet itself, and do a good deed for the greater universe, getting rid of Cell and stopping Bobity and Dabora. Trunks then Kai-Kais to where his home once was, powering back down into base. And this is where it really hits him. Seeing this barren wasteland, everyone's gone, everything he worked for, there's nothing left. He falls to his knees, slamming a fist on the ground, cursing everything. But as he does so, he feels something weird. When he hits the ground, it feels hollow. And he made a crack in it, and he could see that there seems to be some sort of tunnel below where he is. There were never tunnels here. So he breaks through, and he sees a massive tunnel that seems to be connected to another massive network of tunnels. The city never had this when he was here. They would have used it against the androids. But his eyes widen. Maybe that's exactly what this is for. He quickly flies through the tunnels, going around aimlessly trying to figure out where they go. But as he flies through, he then feels something hit him. A bullet. Somebody shot him, and he turns to see someone standing in the corner terrified with a gun in hand. Trunks never thought he'd be so happy to get shot. That means there must be other people down here too. He asks the soldier to bring him to the others. And the soldier then sees the symbol on Trunks' jacket. Capsule Corp. Wait a second. They heard about this guy, but he's been gone for so long, they didn't think he'd come back. Trunks is led to a group of other people. Ever since Trunks disappeared, there's been an effort to move people underground. Thankfully, the androids never found these people. And for years now, everyone's been living underground, sometimes going to the surface to get supplies and things. But they've been mostly stuck here. Someone in the crowd then calls out to Trunks, and he immediately recognizes the voice. That despair he was feeling, it instantly disappears. The person who called out to him is future Bulma. After all this time, they could finally reunite. Elated doesn't even begin to describe how Trunks is feeling. He thought everything was gone, especially when he eventually came back here, and then he explains how he came back here in the first place, as well as how he got trapped in the past too. And Trunks hears of everything that happened here as well. Trunks reiterates that he's only here temporarily, as much as he wants to stay here. But Bulma completely understands. She's just glad that he's okay and he saved that timeline at least. Plus, this timeline too. It might have taken a while and maybe didn't go according to their plan, but still, in the end, their plan worked. Traveling back in time allowed Trunks to save the future. Trunks does feel guilty though. He was living such a nice life there. It was a normal life too. He tells future Bulma that he lived with Bulma in that timeline. He got to meet Vegeta and Goku. He knows an alternate version of himself. He got to see Gohan again. While everyone was suffering here, he was just living a good life there. But Bulma says it's not his fault. They didn't really know the risk of time travel, and it was more so due to Cell. There's no point worrying about that anymore. Trunks saved both timelines, and their time travel worked. Trunks has been here a bit too long by now, and unfortunately he knows he has to go back to that other timeline. But he then pulls out a capsule and throws it down. It has a bunch of supplies for everyone here. He was hoping to meet people so he can give these supplies out. And even though it's going to take a while, they could finally rebuild. The androids are gone, Cell's gone. They wouldn't have even known about Boo either, and he's not going to be a threat anymore. He has a teary goodbye with Bulma, but he's glad to see everyone return to the surface again. And as he prepares to go back to his timeline, it's almost like he feels a hand on his shoulder. He turns around expecting to see Gohan. Now that he's back here in this timeline, it's so strange not having him around. But he turns behind him and sees no one's there. He must have been imagining things. Although now that he thinks about it, he's a Kai, so next time he comes back to his timeline he could probably visit Otherworld too. Although Beerus would probably be pissed that he's trying to mess with timelines so much here. Especially because he already killed Cell and Babidi and Deborah. But whatever, he's not concerned about that for now. He finally accomplished what he wanted. Confidently he returns home. But watching on this entire time was actually Gohan. Teary-eyed but happy. Trunks has grown so much as a person and as a warrior. But most importantly, he saved everything. He did exactly what Gohan knew he would do. He watches as Trunks vanishes through time, thanking him for everything he's done. And this is where we'll leave off for now. What'd you guys think about this part? And what's going to happen next? Leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel and shows me you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.